If you've ever gone to the beach anywhere in the eastern US, chances are you've seen these tiny little flies. But what are they? What are they doing here, and why are there so many? Well, today, we're exploring a beach in South Florida to answer these questions and so much more. The best place to look for these is in the area of moist sand in between the inland dry sand and the very wet sand at the edge of the water. If we're lucky, a whole bunch of these little flies should be sitting on the sand or flying around close to the ground. But because they're so small and the same color as the sand below, we need to watch out for their movement with every step we take and have the net in a good position to make the catch.
Alright, the waves are loud, so I'm gonna have to talk a little louder, but I've actually reached a spot where I see a ton of these little robber flies all over the ground. These little Laphystia are just all over the ground, flying around looking for their prey. So let's learn all about these incredible flies. Alright, I had to move over to a much quieter spot, but what I have in this net right here is one of the most interesting flies that you could find here in South Florida. This is Laphystia litoralis. Let me take it out of the net real quick. Look at this beautiful little fly right here. This is a species of robber fly that you could only find out in these coastal areas. And these are perfectly adapted for living out here at the beach. Their bodies are covered in this white hair that makes them blend in almost perfectly with the sand. You might be wondering, what is a robber fly? Now, robber flies are a group of flies, a family of flies that form the family Acylidae. And these are all predatory flies that specialize on eating other insects. Now, many of these robber flies can grow to absolutely massive sizes, but this Laphystia litoralis right here is an unusually small species of robber fly. Now, even though these are quite the special robber fly, they still share many of the same characteristics as their larger cousins. They have large eyes with tons of compound segments that make their vision some of the best and most precise out of any insect. They also have a mystax, or a fluffy mustache-like patch of hairs in front of the face. And this is to protect their face, especially their eyes and their mouth, the two most vulnerable parts of their face, from their prey fighting back when getting eaten. And another thing that these have in common is that sharp proboscis. They use this to inject a neurotoxic venom into their prey. Since this is a tiny robber fly, the proboscis is also significantly smaller than average for a robber fly, and is so small in fact that you can't even see it through the fluffy white mystax on the face. Because these are small robber flies, they can't take down nearly the same size prey as their larger cousins can. So these mostly focus on eating much smaller flies, like little gnats and stuff that are on the beach. And these Laphystia don't really fly long distances. They only fly really short distances from one patch of sand to another patch of sand to another patch of sand. You won't see them flying really long distances. And this is because to hunt their prey, smaller flies, they don't really need to make long flights to catch things in midair like many other robber flies do. They'll basically just swipe whatever's in front of them and rely on their great camouflage against the sand as an ambush strategy to hunt down smaller flies. Now, besides their camouflage against the sand, another pretty interesting thing about their color is that they have a very similarly patterned abdomen to the sand wasps around here, which makes me wonder if they're actually mimicking the sand wasps that live alongside these robber flies on the coast, which have a venomous sting that these don't have. Wasp and bee mimicry is a widespread phenomenon across many robber flies, and many robber flies use it for different reasons, either to avoid getting predated because predators won't attack a wasp or a bee like they would a fly, or in some cases, even mimicking bees and wasps so that way they can more easily track down bees and wasps and eat them. This species is absolutely tiny, so if those bands on the abdomen, those wasp-like bands on the abdomen, are for mimicry purposes, this is most likely to avoid predation, as these are way too small to be hunting down even the tiny little sand wasps that are living alongside these flies. That banding pattern is actually quite important for how I was able to identify this as a species. While Laphystia as a genus is pretty easy to recognize, with the small size, fluffy overall appearance, pale grayish color, and bands on the abdomen, as well as living in sandy areas near the edge of the water, identifying the species is a much tougher task. Now, thankfully, here in southeast Florida, this is the only species that you can encounter, Laphystia litoralis. But if you're ever in an area where there's range overlap, Laphystia litoralis can be easily identified by looking at the bands of the abdomen. The white bands towards the end of the abdomen are broken with black in the middle. Only other species here in Florida that would be found in beaches, which is found mostly in the panhandle, would have complete white bands all the way down the abdomen. In my opinion, this has to be one of the cutest robber flies out there. Just look at those big beady eyes and that super fluffy mustache, as well as that super compact, stocky appearance. I hope you enjoyed learning all about these amazing predatory flies, these robber flies, Laphystia litoralis. And make sure you keep an eye out for one of these amazing insects next time you're at the beach. In my opinion,
If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to check out this video, where we find a massive member of the same family as these tiny robber flies. Enjoy!